Hey there crafty friends, my name's Misty. Welcome to Gleespen Designs. In today's video, we're doing things a little bit differently, but still budget friendly. Normally I use Dollar Tree items to make DIY home decor. However, for today we are headed off to the thrift store to see what we can find. One thing I really liked about shopping at the thrift store instead of Dollar Tree is Dollar Tree's items can be quite small, and at the thrift store you can find some really big, nice items for a really great price. As you can see, there's already a lot of beautiful larger items to choose from, and then there's this thing over here. What in the world is up with the colors? And you'd have to be crazy to take that home. Well, here's DIY number one. Because of the color, I literally walked past this thing probably 3 or 4 different times. You know how you have to keep going back up and down the aisles just to see if you missed something? Well, I caught this at a different angle and realized what it actually was and how large of a piece it actually was, and I put it in my cart right away. If you cannot tell, this is a really nice wood toolbox. It is really heavy and heavy duty. Now, it did or must have belonged to somebody named Andy at one point in time because it did have that name engraved into the side. With that being said, I knew it would need a deep sanding. However, I did not sand it all the way so that it would still have a little bit of those dings and dents, just so that it looked a little bit more natural. Then I used this white Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover Ultra Matte Spray Paint. I did try and remove this wood handle, however it was not budging. They really had that thing in there, so when I was spray painting, a little bit did gather up on the handle, so it did have some drips, and I just took my zip sander and sanded those away. Next, I go in with my black chalk paint. It is the Folk Art brand, and this black chalk paint is so dark you normally only ever need one coat. It is my favorite black chalk paint that there is. Looking back, if I were to do this project again, I would definitely paint the handle very last so that I did not get any paint onto the handle when I was trying to go in at this awkward angle trying to get down inside the toolbox. With that being said, I painted the inside of the toolbox at least as much as I could with my white chalk paint. Next, I'll be using this reusable silkscreen transfer. It says, "Welcome to our farmhouse." I got it off of Temu for $2.98. If you can't tell, I have already used this stencil, which just goes to show that you can definitely use them multiple times. This silkscreen transfer as is doesn't fit on our toolbox like I would like it to. It is all one piece, but you can cut these transfers up if you would like. I did unfortunately have to cut into the letter E a little bit when I was cutting out the rooster, but I will show you guys how I fixed that in a few moments. Next, I take the pieces with the backing still on them and I place them onto the toolbox just so I can kind of see how I would like everything to be placed. I do end up cutting off the design under the word house and centering it under the word farmhouse. But of course I was getting ahead of myself. I was just so excited about this project. I grabbed the welcome to our and stick it down really well so there is no air pockets. To fill in your transfer, you want to use chalk paste or chalk paint. I do prefer and recommend chalk paste, however you can use chalk paint. So I take my chalk paste and I fill in the welcome to our farmhouse with the color black. Once I have it completely filled in, all I have to do is peel off the transfer, then I can go to the sink, wash it off, and reuse it again. Next, I'm going to repeat those same steps on the word farmhouse piece of the transfer that I cut apart, and where the E is that I had to cut off, I just take a piece of painter's tape and place it right up at the very top so that E will have that straight line like it should. Then I just go back in with the black chalk paste and fill in the word farm. Once I have it completely filled in, I peel it off just like I did with the previous one. And just like the previous one, this one turned out perfect. I love peeling these off, and I really like the detail that is behind and around the letters. Once I got to where the E was on the word house, I was able to fill it in just like I would with the stencil actually there. And as you guys can see, once I peel it up and peel the tape off, it worked perfectly. And finally, I take that pretty detail piece and I place it in the center underneath the word farmhouse and fill it in and peel off the transfer once I'm done. So here's the thing, all around the words is that what I'm going to call a splatter look. Well, I want that to be across the entire front so that there's not all of these blank white spots. So I'm going to take a piece of just a plastic bag that was actually from the thrift store. It had a few items in it, and I just ball it up into my hand, dab it into a little bit of black paint. I do dab it onto something just to get a lot of the excess off, and I very lightly tap it all over wherever I would like that pattern to be. I truly feel like this is the absolute perfect and easiest way to really replicate this look, and it really does work perfectly and look exactly like how it's supposed to. Once I was 100% sure I was not using any more white chalk paint, I did touch up the black on the handle, and I also added some black chalk paint just on the ends up at the top. And once again, I did repeat this on both of the ends of the toolbox, and once I had those painted on the sides of the toolbox, there is this little circle here from where the handle is pushed through. I just went around in that circle with the black chalk paint. Goodness gracious, I cannot talk. I filled in the circle with the black chalk paint. And the very last thing that I painted on this toolbox was the sides of the side pieces, only on the side. Now that our toolbox is completely painted, I want to add some florals on the inside. However, this thing is so large it would take up a ton of floral foam. So a little hack is to use some pool noodles. And I do apologize if you guys hear any crazy birds in the background. We did get some new pet budgies or parakeets, whatever you would like to call them. Unfortunately, I only had one pool noodle on hand, or I would have technically put two of them in here, one stacking on top of another, but I do end up just using the floral foam that I had on hand. I do end up cutting a few of the floral foam pieces down just so that they would fit perfectly in some of the gaps, and then I do add that second layer once I cut down my florals. And speaking of florals, these are the ones that I decided to go with. I have quite a few hydrangeas, some cone flowers. This one I do end up leaving out. The next one here is a farmhouse bush, and then we have some foliage, which I would say looks like ivy. Before I can actually start adding my florals, I would like to cut them down so that they are individual little stems, just so that I have better control on where I can put them. All I do is fan out my florals, push the greenery up so that I'm also getting the greenery in with the flower, and then I just take some Dollar Tree garden shears and I cut each stem off of the actual pick stem. I'm sure you all know how to cut florals, but just in case you didn't, I figured I would let you know. And just like I did with the hydrangeas, I'm doing the same thing with the ivy and the other florals as well. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you guys watch me cut all of these florals with the magic finger snap. They are already cut. And now here comes the fun part of adding the florals into our farmhouse toolbox centerpiece. Wait, nope, I'm getting ahead of myself here, and I do need to add the floral foam on top of the pool noodle just so that there's more for the florals to actually stick into. And all I did was just take quite a few pieces. I do believe I used 2 packs, and I just placed those pieces of floral foam, gluing them down inside the toolbox to the pool noodle. Now that all the floral foam is inside the toolbox and where we need it to be, we can finally actually start adding our florals. As you can see, my stems were still a little bit too long, so I did have to cut them down a little bit more, and then I pushed them down all the way inside so that they were just barely peeking over the edge, and you would still be able to see the black handle behind them. How I like doing my florals is I try to add a main flower. For instance, I'm using the hydrangea here. That is the main flower in this centerpiece. And then I try and add a few little sprinkles of other florals and greenery in there. Once I think I'm done, I do like to turn the project and look at it from different angles just to see if there's any spots that I need to add some more florals. And with that being said, this is our last floral and this DIY is done. Okay, you guys, I've got to know down in the comments, is this toolbox something that you would use as a centerpiece? For our next thrift flip, we are going to be using this really large, heavy candle holder, and I'm not sure exactly what this is made out of, but let me say again, this was really heavy. Just like with the previous project, I also spray painted this one with the Rust-Oleum Ultra Matte spray paint. Up here at the top of the candlestick holder, there is this pointy part that sticks into your candle to keep it into place. All I needed to do was twist it and it came right off. Removing that pointy piece will create a hole that we will have to fill, which I just do with some hot glue, but I did pick up a resin mixing kit and some epoxy resin off of Amazon. I will leave a link for both of these items down below in the description box. Before I start mixing up any of the resin, I want to fill in the hole from where I unscrewed the little pointy thing at the top of the candle holder, just so that the resin wouldn't drip down inside, because the hot glue does cure a lot faster. Up at the top of the candle holder where you put your candle, there is this bowl shape, so I need to fill that in, and that's what I'm going to be using the epoxy resin for. So I start by mixing a 1-to-1 ratio, and I do have to mix quite a long time. I did not realize epoxy resin needs to be mixed for so long. I mean, it says 3 to 5 minutes. Let me know down in the comments if that's actually how long you guys actually mix yours for. Finally, once I had it all mixed up, I poured it in right up at the top, but as you can see, I of course did not make enough, so I had to allow this to cure and then make some more and add a little bit more so that you can see it is flush at the top. The reason why I need it to be straight at the top is because I'm going to be adding this round piece of wood that I actually cut myself. You guys, this was my first circle ever, and I think I killed it. No, seriously, it was super easy. I cut it with a jigsaw that I got off of Amazon. I will have it linked down below in the description box if you guys would like to check it out. This scrap piece of wood was this blue color when I bought it, and I wanted to paint it a white color that was closest to the spray paint that I painted the candlestick holder with, and all I had was this bare white chalk paint. I made sure to paint the front, the back, and all the way around the sides. For the top of the wood round, I'm going to be using these wall tile stickers that I got for only $5 at the Target dollar spot. For me, these gave off a total farmhouse vibe. I thought that they were black and white, but they are actually black and clear, so you could technically use whatever color as a background as you would like. These wall tile stickers were so easy to use. They are literally exactly that. They are a sticker, so all you're going to do is pull it off the backing and place it down onto your project. I just eyeballed where I thought the center would be, and then I started from there. Again, everyone, I am so sorry about the birds. I don't want to put them in a different room because we are trying to get them used to us, and them seeing us a lot really helps with that, and I don't want to just close them off into a room by themselves. So for today's video, sit back, enjoy some crafts, and some crazy birds chatter. Now that I have my wood round covered with the tiles, which by the way, I still have at least 10 sheets of those tiles still left, so that's quite a good deal for $5. To remove the excess tile from around the wood round, I used my zip sander. You can use sandpaper and just go around sanding just the edge in a downward motion, and you guys, this stuff literally just falls off, and you could not get a closer edge pretty much using just about anything else. Once all the tile is removed from around the wood round and the epoxy is completely dry, I'm going to be taking this now gorgeous wood round, and we are going to be gluing it up at the top of the candlestick holder. You could use whatever glue you would like. I even think epoxy just might work. I'm not the best with epoxy. I do not know much about epoxy, so on the safe side, I went with some E6000 and a lot of wood glue super glue. I feel like every time I use a wood glue, it just comes shooting straight out, and so much more than what I actually wanted goes on to my project. So let me just say, I gave the job of cleaning to my children's father when it came to cleaning this candlestick holder, and once I flipped it upside down to glue it to the wood round, you can definitely tell it was not clean to my standards. Allow some time for all the glue to dry, and then add a really nice clear coat, and this DIY is done. our next thrifted item, I found this really neat picture frame that says, "But most of all, be kind." This frame was marked at $3, however, I did get it at half off, so it was only $1.50. I personally absolutely love the color of the gray frame, so I want to protect that while I paint. So I'm going to take some painter's tape and place it starting on the inside edge of the gray frame, just so that it is nice and protected. Now that my painter's tape is all in place, I'm taking my zip sander and just giving it a really nice sanding so that all of that text and image will come off. You don't necessarily have to get it all off, you just want to get it as light as you possibly can get it. Now I'm taking my bare white chalk paint and I'm going to give this inside square two really good coats. I don't technically really think that the Behr is the best paint. I prefer other brands like Rust-Oleum or Waverly or even Folk Art compared to Behr. It's not that it's bad, it's just the coverage is not the best compared to some of the other ones that I've used. Once I have the inside circle done, I want to protect the outside of the little square and the inside of the larger square. So I'm going to again take the painter's tape and just start placing it all the way around those edges, going right up against the edge as close as you can get it so that you have everything covered that you need covered and everything exposed that you would like to paint. Now that we have all of our surfaces covered that we need covered, I'm going back in with the Behr white chalk paint and I'm going to paint all of this light wood here. You guys, I am so sorry. It is totally slipping my mind what the name of this material is on the inside. I know it's like a wood and yeah, it's just totally slipping my mind. Either way, I am painting it white with the white Behr chalk paint. After everything is painted and before it dries fully, I do like to pull the tape off, and again, that is before it fully dries. Like I had mentioned earlier, I do really love the gray color on the frame. However, I do want to add just a little bit of distressing, so I take a very dry paintbrush with just a tiny bit of the white paint still left on it, and I just go around and start brushing it over the frame until I like the look that it is giving. You of course do not have to distress whatsoever, this is just my personal preference. Now that my outside frame is distressed to my liking, I went to do the inside frame and realized I hadn't even pulled the tape off yet, which, like I had mentioned, I normally like to do before the paint dries. So all I do is now remove the tape from the inside frame, and I also give that some distressing as well. Now that my frame is all complete, I'm going to be using this Farmhouse silkscreen transfer that I also got off of Amazon, just like so many of the other things in this video. You guys know I love Dollar Tree, Amazon, and apparently thrift stores now. So I'm going to be using this transfer, and I do like the fact that this transfer has the cut lines so that you can cut each piece individually. So I'm using this Life is Better on the Farm. I cut it out and I'm going to just simply remove the backing and place it right in the center of the smaller square in the center of the frame. Just like I did with the previous transfers, I'm using my black chalk paste and filling in the transfer completely, and once I have it completely filled in, I peel it off and look how amazing this turned out. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed these thrift flips and would like to see more, let me know down in the comments. I truly hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all and a few new friends in the next one. Bye!